Hello everyone, welcome along. This is Space Dave Live. The reason I'm smiling so much is that we were cutting it very fine going live tonight. We had a few technical issues, which is just how things tend to roll here. But with 30 seconds out, I think we managed to get everything together. So look, welcome along. My name is Dave. With us tonight, we have a live studio audience, pretty healthy looking one tonight, I think. Hey, welcome along everyone. So awesome to have you guys here. Now I was about to cut to your camera, Jess, but something's it's been knocked. So I'll tell you what, let's cut to it for giggles. That's what Jess's camera looks like right now. So sorry about that. Jess is over there somewhere, and here I am. So Jess, perhaps if you could just see if you could readjust that camera a little bit, and we'll try and get that organised. It was all a little bit hairy getting ready for tonight, but that's how we like it. Now, I'm just looking over on our chat here. One new thing that I am trying tonight, you might see over there on the right, I'm actually trying to show the live chat a little bit. I don't expect you to be able to read that. Where is it? It's over there, isn't it? I don't expect you to be able to read that, but it is hopefully going to help me keep an eye on things. Let's have a quick look at what we've got on tonight. So first question is, can we scroll? Yes, we are scrolling with our chat tonight, so that's a step up from last week. And a few people in already. So hi everyone. Hi Casey, Ellen, Andy, Karsten, good to see you again, and welcome along everyone else. So let's just have a quick whiz through here. Look, looks like some of our messages are being redacted again. We still don't know what's going on there. Now, while I think about it, I was having a few audio issues as well tonight. So if anyone could just comment and let me know if the audio is too quiet or too loud. Otherwise, we'll just assume that it's all good. So, yeah, right, I was a little bit later than usual, wasn't I? Was I? It would have only been half a minute or so. Sorry about that. I gave myself another 30 seconds because we were cutting things so fine tonight. Righto, so what have I got up my sleeve for tonight? Well, to be honest, it's going to be a little bit winging it tonight, but it looks like Facebook's all up and running. So I think we're all good, actually. I think we're pretty good to get going tonight. So, right, just catch my breath. Stay calm, everything is all good and under control. Let's start off. Actually, we need to start off with our program, don't we, to see what is on tonight. So we've actually got a few different things happening tonight. I made the mistake of making a whole lot of technical changes just before we went live earlier today, which is silly. I'll never learn. But anyway, so what have we got tonight? After the introduction and housekeeping and bits and pieces, we've got a lot of news to get through tonight because we didn't have a show last week. So there's quite a few things to talk about, including some stuff to do with Rocket Lab. We've actually got a bit of New Zealand related news tonight, so that's quite nice. It's always nice when we've got lots of stuff in New Zealand to talk about. We need to talk about the Falcon Heavy launch and some other stuff that's happening around the solar system tonight. We'll have a bit of a look at what's happening in the night sky, although you certainly won't be seeing much tonight. And hopefully we'll have a bit of time for some questions and discussions and that sort of thing. So the competition, let's do the competition first tonight. Now we're going to talk about this a little bit more shortly, but the competition question tonight will be, this is a Rocket Lab one for all you Rocket Lab people out there, and I know there's a few of you, and interestingly I now know of at least 3 employees of Rocket Lab who are watching the show, maybe not live, but I know at least one is watching it live tonight. Anyway, the question is going to be, should Rocket Lab have to publicly disclose every payload? So we have been talking about this recently, we've talked about that whole question of secret payloads being launched from New Zealand, and should we all get to know what's going on there, or are we happy to trust Rocket Lab and the government, who also knows what's going up there, to make sure that there's nothing dodgy going up into space? So that is the question, but I would suggest that you just hold off a little bit before you answer that, unless you've already got a really strong opinion about it, and we will just chat a little bit about what's going on with that. So that is the competition tonight, so start entering whenever you like, or it's going to be one of the first things we talk about in the news tonight. The prize, I did... every week. The thing this week is I haven't actually organised a prize yet, but I had forgotten about it as well. So yeah, I basically failed all around. Honestly, tonight you should have seen me here 5 or 10 minutes ago. I look all nice and relaxed and happy now, but I was in full-on white-hot stress mode just before. So I'll tell you what, Jess, do you feel like going and choosing a prize? No, you don't? Okay. Look, if anyone else wants to, we need a prize worth about, say, $20 to $30 odd. Go into the shop over there behind me. Wendy's going to go and help us out there. Just go and have a wander around in the shop and see if you can find us a decent prize, and we'll tell you what the prize is. And thank you, Alan, for pointing that out again tonight. So, it's going to be one of those nights, I think. It already is one of those nights. Anyway, I do need to remind you, of course, that you can support the show at patreon.com/spacecentre if you want to help us pay our bills and keep the show up and running. But I have heard from a few people now that it's not always easy to sign up with Patreon, and quite a few New Zealand credit cards are being refused. So that's no good. Not happy about that at all. If you would like to send money our way, but you can't do it through Patreon, or you'd rather do something else, it doesn't even have to be financial, just other ways to help us, just let me know. And I'm sure we can sort something out to relieve you of some of your hard-earned money. This week, we do have to thank Carol Davies as our latest Patreon supporter. Thank you so much, Carol. Awesome to have you on board. I hope you and your family are watching tonight. So hi to everyone in your family. Awesome to have you guys on board. One other thing I should quickly mention is that we are kind of gearing up to get ready to have a sponsor on board. I didn't really want to do it yet until we had enough weekly views and subscribers, but I think we can actually offer a pretty good sponsorship deal based on the number of views that we are getting. So we're only getting a couple of thousand views per episode across all the platforms, but I think we can actually do something for you. So if anyone's interested in being a sponsor, let me know. Another thing, the Google Hangouts thing that we kind of tried on the last show, and it sort of worked. I haven't had a chance to test it out anymore. I'm suggesting perhaps don't call in the middle of the show, but if we get a bit of time later on, we might open that up to have a blast at that. I certainly do want to get it going, as you know. Right, in the local news, the Space Centre stuff, there's just one more thing that I would like to show you actually. Let me just get a little video ready here. This was a video that I recorded from a feed from the International Space Station on the 29th of June. Now, as you guys know, I love keeping an eye on the live video feeds and other stuff coming from the space station. This was a video that I recorded over New Zealand. So if you have a look down the bottom of the screen, bottom right of the screen, just coming into view now, that is the west coast of the North Island of New Zealand. So the space station was traveling from west to east here, and I've been trying to get this one for quite a while to try and time a sunset as it's going over New Zealand. So this is sped up 5 times. But it does happen pretty quickly. Those of you who've seen this before know that a sunset as seen from the space station does happen really fast. But I think this was not a bad effort, this one here. It's certainly the best sunset over New Zealand that I've managed to get so far. We've already lost New Zealand there. You can't really see it that well, but it is there. And this is the sun going down. So as the sun sets, it'll happen really, really fast. Even in real time, it happens very quickly. And you'll see as the sun goes down below the horizon there, it actually tends to light up the whole atmosphere. So you can just see the thin line of Earth's atmosphere there. There's the sun going down, and it lights up the whole atmosphere just as it's going down and makes it all look a bit thicker. And there you go. That is a sunset happening live up in space. So I was pretty stoked to get that one. I think that's a pretty nice shot of a sunset over New Zealand. There's a few more shots like this that I'd like to try and get. I'll just keep working on them. And at the end of each year, I do a little bit of a highlight session of all the best views of the space station passing over New Zealand that I've managed to get during the year. So that was that little thing. Wendy, how did we go finding a prize? Did we manage to get anything? We've got it over here. Okay. Tonight's prize, and I'm as surprised as you are, is a do-it-yourself UFO. That's a pretty cool little prize, isn't it? So there you go. We can post these anywhere in the world, so get amongst that if you want to join in with the competition tonight. Now let's just have a quick look in the chat and just make sure everything's going okay here. Iona, I can hear you well, so thank you for that, Iona. Righto, so a few people, or at least Alan's already entered the competition. Dave, can you please go to Pluto? Can I talk a bit about Tabby Star? I've been meaning to do that, Casey, actually. I started having actually, look, we will get back to that one. Remind me, someone, we want to talk about Tabby Star tonight, even though I didn't do any prep for it. But yeah, I think we should be able to do that. Right, I think that's enough of that. What we want to do is we want to start talking about some news, don't we, really? Because it's time to talk about some space news. So, as I said, there's a bit of New Zealand-based news to talk about tonight. So I think that's pretty neat. Let's start off with this one. So, those of you who have been following this project, this is the Dark Sky project. This is the new astronomy attraction that has opened down in Tekapo in the South Island, and this is cool. I'm really excited about this one. So, this is the organisation formerly known as Earth and Sky. I'm sure many of you have been there. Post it in the comments if you have been there and tell us what you thought about it. So, this is the organisation that runs expeditions up to Mount John Observatory, and they do a whole bunch of other stuff down there. Now, the one criticism I have heard in the past for these things is if there's no viewing, if it's too cloudy or something, then there's not much to do, which is pretty normal when you go to an observatory. But they've now opened up a whole new complex down there with all sorts of cool looking stuff to do. So go and check out their website. The link, of course, is in the show notes there. And I've also put a link to a TVNZ news story about the opening of it. And they've got some really, really exciting looking stuff to do. I wish I had time to go down there and see it. But if anyone's been there already, please do let us know and tell us what it's all about. So, yep, I'll let you go and check out the website there, but congratulations to the Dark Sky project for getting up and running. It's a multi-million-dollar project, and it really does look really quite awesome. A lot of people ask me if I was concerned that this might be competition for the Space Centre here. Not really. They're a long way away and they're quite different. It's a whole different sort of thing. And I'm a big fan of working together with all the other space organisations in New Zealand. I'm always talking up Stardome, Carter Observatory, the various observatories around the country. So I say absolutely just go and see them. So, yep, that was the first thing that we wanted to talk about, was just let you know what was going on there. That is really cool. Then we need to start talking about Rocket Lab. So let's do this. Now, Rocket Lab had a launch, when was it? Was it a week ago? It was in the last week, wasn't it? I've got it here in my notes. I'm just too flustered, you see. So it was on the 29th, and what we need to do is we probably need to have a look at the launch. So let's see, hopefully we can bring that up. Yeah, here it is. So let's go and have a look at the launch. Actually, we should have a little bit of sound with that.
8, 7, 6, 5.
Good old
4,
Kiwi accent. Countdown.
3,
Love it.
Ignition. 1.
Beautiful launch. Off it goes.
Let's get the bed.
Now in this launch, Rocket Lab was launching multiple spacecraft. This was a ride-share flight, so there's a bunch of different things happening all at once. And it was organised by an outfit called Spaceflight, which is one of these organisations that just basically helps you to manage your launches. So you just go and sign up with them and they'll organise a launch provider for you and sort it all out. So that was pretty cool. A whole bunch of things going on this launch here. Now look at these views. The launch facility in Mahia is often described as the most picturesque launch facility in the world, and I would absolutely go along with that. Some beautiful images looking back at the Mahia Peninsula there. So congratulations Rocket Lab for getting that launch up and running successfully. Never had any doubt that it would all come together. That is, am I right, the 7th Rocket Lab launch so far, 7th successful one in a row. So that's a good track record already, Rocket Lab. So looking really, really good. So that's the launch video there. Now, there are a couple of things. Well, one main thing that we want to talk about with the whole Rocket Lab thing, and we have already talked about it quite a bit, and it is, of course, to do with the competition tonight. And that is, should Rocket Lab be disclosing every payload that goes up there? So there was an article that came out on Stuff just, when was it? It was just within the last week or so, I think. But anyway, it's talking about the confidential payload that was on the previous launch. And so this is something that we have discussed before. There's been a series of articles on the spin-off talking about the various payloads that have not been disclosed on Rocket Lab's launches. Now, let's just be clear about this. It's not a complete secret. The New Zealand government does know what's on there. It's just that for commercial reasons and various other reasons, not every launch can be sort of completely disclosed to the public. There's commercial sensitivity and there are other considerations there. But as we've said before, it is a conversation that New Zealand probably does want to have. Are we quite happy about the situation? Do we really think that we should know everything that's on these rockets, especially if it is for the United States military? Or are we happy to trust Rocket Lab and the New Zealand government to make sure that everything is above board? Now, perhaps I won't actually tell you exactly what I think the answer to the question should be, although if you've been watching the show, I think you should know what I think. But anyway, Peter Beck has gone on record as saying that he wouldn't, I can't remember his exact words, sorry Peter, but it was words to the effect that he would not launch anything that he didn't think that the average New Zealander would be comfortable with, and he has stated categorically that he would not be launching weapons into space. So, look, I won't say anything more about that because maybe we'll come back to that at the end of the show with the competition and just see what all you guys think about that. So, yeah, you might want to go and have a look through the article there. But yeah, that's what that's all about really. So was there anything else I wanted to say about that for now? We'll probably get back to that later. In the meantime, I did have, look, in my panic this morning I might have lost it. No, here it is, here it is. There is an interesting interview with Peter Beck. He was interviewed by MIT. You might want to go and have a look at this, link in the show notes, where he's just talking about a couple of things to do with Rocket Lab. He talks a bit about their 3D printing technology. Let's have a look at the whole story here. It's not a long interview, not particularly in depth, but it is quite a good little interview. And he did talk about the competition for the small satellite market. So that's of course where Rocket Lab is targeting, is the small sat market. And Peter has come out and said that, what was his comment here? He was, can't think, it's in there somewhere. He's saying that there's a lot of startup companies targeting the same market now, and they're all talking about the same customers. So he's predicting a bubble burst perhaps in the small launch market. But he also feels that Rocket Lab is in a good position. They were an early starter in this market, and I agree with him entirely. They've got a good record already, and things are looking pretty good. And I think some of the other new startups in the same market are going to actually be hard pushed to beat what Rocket Lab is doing. And of course, we're all behind Rocket Lab, aren't we? We're very confident, and we want them to beat all the others, and I think they probably will. So that's what's happening there. Now, I should also mention that stuff.co.nz has submitted an official information request to find out what has been in those payloads. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I don't know if they could go back and talk about what's already been launched there. That would put the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it? If Rocket Lab was legally forced to reveal what has gone on previous payloads, that could be a little bit upsetting. So look, if anyone knows where that is at, let me know, because the last I heard they had submitted the request, but that was about where it stands. So one more thing about what's happening in the New Zealand space launch market. So this is from the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and the government has actually enabled this system to track what's going up into space from New Zealand, which is really cool. That's awesome. So they've teamed together with this other organisation. I've forgotten who it was already. But if you haven't, let's just full screen this video here. So this is a system where they can look at everything that has been launched from New Zealand to track what we've put into space. So what a great idea. And this is all part of helping to keep an eye on the space junk situation. Now, I assume all of these things that we are looking at here are all Rocket Lab launches. I guess they would have to be. And they certainly all look like polar orbits, don't they? So that would follow. So anyway, I think that's a really good innovation that we are able to keep an eye on what we are putting into space to make sure that we are sort of meeting our obligations to the international community and not filling space up with junk any more than it already is, because of course it's a right old mess up there at the moment. So I think that was all I wanted to say about the stuff that's happening in New Zealand. So let's head on overseas. This is neat. This is the Apollo mission control. So we're coming up to the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landings. So really looking forward to that. We are all, of course, happy in our audience that we really did go to the moon. None of the people who watch this show would be in any doubt about that. So the original mission control room has just been restored in all its glory, and it's looking absolutely beautiful. So this was at the launch there, and those of you who have followed the Apollo missions would recognize that character there, the legendary Gene Kranz, who's he should be wearing his white vest, shouldn't he? That's the only thing that's missing from there. So he was in control, he was the flight controller during the Apollo 11 landing and also during the Apollo 13 emergency, an absolutely legendary character. So let's just have a look back here. I think, did we have a view? There was a link here that might have shown the control room, what it is. looking like now. It's basically been restored to all its glory. Oh, that's not now. That's how it was. What does it say down here? During the Apollo 9 mission. Right, so this was during the Apollo 9 mission. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, it is, so what does it say here? So when this photo was taken, it was a live television transmission. Right, so that would be the Apollo 9 capsule up there. I should have grabbed this before. I've got something that was in that. It's a little Apollo cue card. Yeah, see if you can grab it, Jess. I want to show off. This is my time to show off. I love all my stuff, as you know. My collection of space memorabilia around here. Jess knows where it is. So that capsule up there in Apollo 9, one of my favourite pieces actually in the museum here, thank you, Jess, is this beautiful thing here. Check that out. Lights are shining all over. That's no good. This thing just here, the cardboard cue card there, that was in that capsule that you just saw, and you can actually see some of the writing from the astronauts that were on there. So I absolutely love that piece to bits. It's only a little piece of cardboard, but it's a piece of Apollo history, and it's signed on the back by Jim McDivitt to verify that it did go into space. Now, thank you for that, Jess. I love that piece. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, aren't I? I'm terrible at that. So that's the mission control room, and it's being open to the public, and I have seen a couple of photos and it is looking just pristine, just like what it looked like back then. So I'd love to go and have a visit there. Anyway, that is that. We need to keep moving along, don't we? Where are we up to? We need to talk about the Falcon Heavy launch, don't we? I'll just get the video of that ready. I think we can probably cut straight over to that, really.
9.
So this was the Falcon Heavy launch. First night launch for the Falcon Heavy.
3, 2, 1.
Let's just see it go.
Ignition.
Beautiful looking launch. And off it goes. Hang on, I'm just going to grab a quick drink, sorry, while you watch this.
The view should be the side booster cameras on 2 sides and the center core in the middle.
Booster shut
Right, so as always, I've just edited this a little bit. And there you go, there's booster separation there. Off they go. And there's some really nice views actually. You can see in the top view there, at night time, all the interaction of the various gases coming from the boosters. It looks absolutely spectacular.
Side boosters have separated.
Right, so both of the side boosters, they're heading back down to attempt a landing, and the centre core is coming back down for a very, very challenging attempt at landing this time, much more challenging than normal. So here we come now, and see the top view on the right there, that beautiful infrared view.
Side booster landing burn startup.
Coming back down, and I think the top left there, that must be the landing pads for the 2 side boosters. The 2 bottom views there are both the side boosters coming back down to land. You can't quite see it that well on the landing pads shot there, but here they come. This is almost getting routine, isn't it? These boosters coming down and landing together. Beautiful looking landing, and they both landed perfectly, so that's awesome. Then the centre core. So this one is trying to land on the barge out at sea, but this was much more challenging than normal just because of the nature of the mission. So I think expectations were not particularly high about getting this one. So this is the view out on the barge.
Confirmation that the center core landing burn has begun.
So it should be coming into view any second.
See that coming down.
Here it comes.
Of course, I still love you.
And almost, but
Got a pretty good view.
boosh! Heads off out into the ocean and ends
And as
spectacularly,
you can see on our screen,
but not quite how it was
looks like
supposed
our
to.
center core did not make it on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you tonight. Again, as we've been mentioning, this was the most challenging landing that we've had to date, and this is our secondary mission. So our primary mission, we just heard the call out for a good orbit of our second stage.
Yeah, so everything else went well there, and this is, I just slow-mode this just a little bit more. Let's just have one more look at that. And then it just takes off out into the ocean, and kaboom. Oh well, never mind. Yeah, as I say, I don't think that they were that optimistic about trying to land that one. Now, I understand, I haven't really quite followed this one up completely, but I understand the center engine, which does the steering, was damaged because it was, from the heat, it was a really high energy re-entry, and I think what happened was that it just couldn't steer when it got down near the barge. So anyway, that part of the mission didn't go so well, but the rest of it was a big success. So well done, SpaceX, for that one. So that's what, the 3rd launch of the Falcon Heavy, isn't it? So that's looking pretty good now. I don't think there was anything else much I wanted to say about the Falcon Heavy launch, other than, well, actually this isn't even related to the launch, but I probably shouldn't be giving Elon a hard time over this, but he put this tweet out the other day. I want you to tell me what's wrong with this tweet. Who's going to be the first one to tell me what's wrong with that? Does anyone here out, should we take anything from the audience? Anyone in the audience want to have a go at what's wrong with that tweet? There you go. Let's. Did anyone in the chat say that? I probably can't catch up with that, but there you go. That is actually not Mars. That's the moon. Yeah, we won't give Elon too much of a hard time about that. We all make mistakes, but that is, he's obviously just Googled a picture of it, and that is actually the moon during a lunar eclipse. That's a blood moon there, not the planet Mars. I guess it looks kind of similar. Anyway, so that was that one. How's that time going? We're almost halfway through the show already. Let's catch up on a few other things, shall we? So let me just get back over here. So I just need to close a couple of things here. Now, we talked about Blue Origin, haven't we? We've talked about them quite a bit. Let's have a look at this. So they have tested their BE-7 engine. This is for the lunar lander. Now, you might recall we talked quite a lot about Blue Origin's lunar lander, and I mentioned at the time that they hadn't even hot-fired their engine, really. They hadn't even done a proper test of it yet when he made the announcement, which is unusual for Jeff Bezos, but this test went pretty well, so that's just another step along the way to getting their lunar lander ready. That's about all we need to say about that. It's just looking good. What else is here? Oh, this is back to Bereshit. Now remember that this is the private organisation from Israel that attempted that landing on the moon a while ago. That ended in tears. They came very, very close, but they said that they were going to be back for more and give it another go. Since then, they have actually decided not to do that. They've decided it's not enough of a challenge, and they've actually just decided to call it a success. I'm not quite sure why. Crash landing doesn't really seem like a successful mission to me, but they've decided it was successful enough, so they have got something else up their sleeve, some other significant target or something like that they called it. So we'll just have to wait and keep an eye on what they've got in store for us there. So I think it's a bit of a shame that they're not going to try that one back on the moon again, but hopefully they've got something else in mind. Here's one from the International Space Station. This is another thing that we talked about a little while ago. You remember that cool CGI video that I showed you of the new Aerobe Robots, those sort of cube-shaped robots? You can see it in this still image over there. So they're up on the space station now, and they have now been deployed. That's just a still image. Now this very short kind of GIF-like video here does show you it. Unfortunately, it's a very short video, and we can't really see very much. But that is one of the Aerobe robots there, firing up and getting ready to do some work. I love these robots. Aren't they cool? It's like science fiction stuff. You see it's even got its blinking eyes there. Nice touch, NASA. So when we've got more to show you about the Aerobe robots, I'll try and put a little bit more about that into the show. But because they've got all these like little attachments and stuff, so like little arms and things like that they can use to do a whole lot of work. So I'm really excited about them. I think they're going to be really cool on the space station. So that was some stuff from the space station. Now we've got another story here from the space station. Turns out the space station really is quite a dirty place. We seem to be getting a lot of stories about all the germs and other stuff up there. And they have recently discovered that the space station is home to a type of mold that is practically indestructible and can withstand radiation 200 times the level that would kill a human being. So that's not too flash, and it also has implications for trying to sterilize spacecraft to send to other planets. So we're quite concerned about contaminating other planets. So there's actually a department of NASA called, what is it called? The Planetary Protection? Something like that. Sorry, I can't remember the exact name of it, but they are actually responsible for making sure that we're not damaging or infecting other planets with all our nasties. And the general routine is to try and sterilize any spacecraft before they go to other planets. But this is sort of suggesting that that might actually be a little bit more difficult than we were thinking. So anyway, that was all we had to say about that. Yeah, I'm not sure what we can do about that one, really. What else do we have to talk about? Let's head further out into the solar system. Here's another thing that we have talked about quite a lot on the show, and that is the whole issue of methane on Mars. I'm going to assume that you are sort of up to speed on this. In a nutshell, there's been sort of various controversies surrounding different detections of methane on Mars. Methane is possibly related to signs of life. We don't know that. It's one possible explanation for finding methane on Mars would be microbial life, or it just could be geological. But there has been quite a bit of disagreement over it. But I just wanted to point this one out. Link in the show notes if you want to go and find out more about it. But Curiosity has recently detected quite a spike in methane, and then it just sort of dissipated fairly quickly. So that's quite interesting. Go and have a look at the link there if you're interested in that. So I'm not really quite sure where I stand on this whole thing with methane on Mars, to be honest. I used to get really, really excited every time they talked about methane on Mars. But there was someone just recently, perhaps someone could remind me where I heard this, but there was someone who may have been an astrobiologist, I can't quite remember, but was being asked about what it would actually take for us to have some confidence that we knew what was going on with the methane on Mars. Where is it coming from? Is it life? Is it just geological or whatever? And this person, who was some sort of expert, said, look, really the only way you're going to do it is to have a methane detector right up next to the source. And that's probably going to take a person. Until you do that, it's really, it's up in the air. It's going to be very hard to figure out exactly where that methane is coming from. So, yeah, I don't know. We're just going to have to keep an eye on that one, I think. But obviously it's interesting when we do get these new detections, but I don't know if it's really going to solve the question for us or not. So there you go. That is Mars. Let's just head a little bit further out. I've got a beautiful photo here to show you. This is from NASA's Juno mission, and it is over here. So look at this. That's a beautiful photo of Jupiter, isn't it? So now this was actually a composite photo, as these things do tend to be. So this came from 4 photos taken by the Juno space probe that is orbiting Jupiter right now. These photos were taken from a distance of sort of roughly between 8,000 and 18,000 kilometers above the surface of Jupiter, such as it is. Of course, it doesn't have a solid surface, but what we would generally call the surface. And what you can kind of see there, obviously you can see a lot of the weather bands and storm patterns and things like that here. These white clouds over here, I believe, are high altitude clouds, just sort of popping out above the rest of it. But that is a gorgeous image of Jupiter. So I just wanted to show you that one really, because I think it's really cool. Now, if we head a little bit further out, again, if we head out to Saturn, this one is really exciting. I'm going to try showing you another little video here. I didn't have time to resize it probably, sorry about that. But NASA has announced a mission to Titan, the biggest moon of Saturn. My favorite moon in the whole solar system after our own moon. It's an awesome moon. If you know anything about moons, you'll know about Titan. So they are proposing this flyer that's going to the moon of Titan. Obviously this is CGI, just in case there was any doubt about that. So look at this. What do you even call this? It's not a rover, is it? What did they call it? I'm not even sure what they call this kind of vehicle. But anyway, it's designed to go and land and be able to move around. I wish I'd had more time to look into this proposal, actually. But I believe it's the first space probe ever that is designed to go and land somewhere and then be able to up and move its entire scientific payload and go somewhere else with it. Normally, if you've got a lander on another planet, like on Mars or on the moon perhaps, then you've got the main lander and then you might send a smaller rover to move around a little bit. But this whole one can take off and go away and land somewhere else. That looks like the end of that video. So I don't really know anything more about that. What else do I know about it? I know that mission includes looking for prebiotic chemical reactions and stuff. So what they're looking for is some sort of evidence of chemical stuff that's going on that could be a precursor to life. So I think that's really interesting. I think Titan is a great target to go and learn more about. The moon Titan is kind of like Earth in a lot of ways, but much, much colder. So it has liquid on the surface. It's the only other place that we know of where liquid pools on the surface. So it has lakes and stuff. It has a very thick atmosphere. So it has weather, it has rain. Not water rain, it tends to, the liquid that I'm talking about is liquid methane and ethane, but it's a fascinating place, and I'm really excited that NASA has announced a mission to get to Titan. I think that is absolutely spectacular, really exciting stuff. I don't know when it's scheduled for, so I imagine it will be years away. I'm not sure exactly when it is. I wonder if anyone in our comments has got anything to say about any of these things. We should have a quick catch up here, shouldn't we? So look, I'm just going back here a little bit. Now, I see Ellen is talking about the Astronomical Society down there where Ellen comes from. Good on you, Ellen. Everyone should definitely go and pay Ellen and his Astronomical Society a visit. Dominic, you came to the Space Centre. Did you come with the school, did you, Dominic? Or did you come with a family or something? Hope you enjoyed your time here. Let me just quickly whiz down through here. I've already seen some of these, haven't I? So we've got a few entries for the competition here. I'm thinking... All right, so we've got a little bit of a mix there. Some people thinking they should have to disclose everything, some thinking they should not have to. Now, Dominic, you want to talk about auroras. We probably will not be able to do that tonight, but someone else wanted to talk about auroras, so we'll put that on our list. What do I know about these flashing stars? I know nothing about these flashing stars. I'm not sure, John, what you're referring to there. Sorry about that. I'll try and get back to you there. Maybe if you could clarify that. They're going to have interviewed Peter Crabtree, righto, from the New Zealand Space Agency. Oh, right, you're going to have it. Right, now this is Dan Armstrong. He's commented that he has interviewed someone about these. Now, Dan has a show on community radio called The Locals. You should definitely go and look that up. Feel free, Dan, to post a link in there if you can. And he's doing a whole arc about space stuff at the moment. Featuring Space Dave, by the way. That one's already aired, but you can go and download it. So thanks for that, Dan. That will be a good one to look out for. And if we don't get the link for it tonight, we'll definitely post a link to that later. Right, yeah. Buy shares in the company and contribute if you want to know payload details. Okay, good on you, Mike, for that one. Kia ora, NOCC from Auckland. Those booster landings are indeed surreal, Casey, aren't they? Blood Moon, Tim, you got that right. You might have been the first one to comment here about that. Righto, Dragonfly. Now, that's the one we were talking about, wasn't it? Is that Dragonfly? Was that the... Yes, Dragonfly, thanks for that, Tim. That is the name of that mission on heading for Titan. Righto, and Casey, that is your favourite moon too. So a couple of other people are saying that they have got confidence in Rocket Lab. Wendy, did I see the video of the meteor at Te Awamutu Primary School this week? I did. Wasn't that good? The teachers at one of the local schools here did this whole thing. Oh, actually, I shouldn't be giving this away, should I? Let's say there was an alleged meteor strike at Te Awamutu Primary School, and they put a video about it on Facebook. It was fantastic. Right, now Wendy's also saying that you pay your Patreon account with PayPal, so that could be a good way to do it as well. Thanks for that. Right, we probably need to keep moving along. So, right, the Terrahawks TV show. Troy, you're right. I remember that one. I'd forgot all about that. They do look like that, don't they? Righto, and Vienna thinks that we can trust them, so they don't have to share. Thank you very much for that, Vienna. Okay, right, so let's see where we were up to with our news and keeping an eye on our time. I can't believe how quickly this hour goes sometimes. So, where were we up to? We were up to Titan, weren't we? I think that's as far as we got. Let's see if I can find what else we were going to talk about tonight. Yep, we've done that. No, we're heading further out into the rest of the galaxy. A couple of exoplanets have been discovered, which in itself isn't that much news. So we're talking about planets orbiting other stars. Now, we're up to, what, something over 4,000 exoplanets that we know of now around other stars in our galaxy. So in itself, that wouldn't be too much news, but this is a couple of fairly small, potentially Earth-like planets, potentially habitable planets orbiting around another star that is only 12.5 light years away. So that is reasonably big news, and that's pretty exciting. Link in the show notes if you want to go and find out more about that. I don't think there was anything else on that page that I wanted to show you, but it's much more of a big deal when we find planets that are more like Earth, of course. That's the kind of holy grail, I think, isn't it? When we're looking for exoplanets, is there something that would be like Earth? So there's a couple of definite candidates there. What else have we got? So this is a story from Universe Today. What is the story? Oh, this was the one about the fast radio bursts. Now, fast radio bursts. So these are a thing that were only discovered 10 years ago, something like that. I've got it in my notes here. Fast radio bursts discovered in 2007, a little bit over 10 years ago. So these are very faint radio sources coming from somewhere out in the universe. We generally assume that they would be coming from outside our galaxy, but they are a mystery. We don't know where they're coming from. There are a few ideas about what's going on, but they're very transient. They happen very fast. They must be very energetic at their source, but by the time they get all the way to Earth, they are very faint indeed, very hard to pick up, and they may just be a one-off thing, or some of them, I think probably only a couple from memory, have actually been repeating ones. So what's happened with this story here is that a one-off radio burst has actually been traced back to its source. So we now know where it came from, which of course is a big help to try and figure out what on earth is going on there. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, you'll definitely want to go and check out that link about the fast radio bursts. So it's one of those mysteries that we really, although I'm guessing there's probably half a dozen or so hypotheses about what might be going on there, but we really are in the dark with these fast radio bursts. So I think that's really exciting. I love these mysteries, and it's really cool when you've got just another little clue about what might be going on there. So good on you guys for capturing that one, and hopefully something may come of it. Now, I'm just going to whiz through a couple of these other stories, partly because I didn't really get much time to have a look into them. This one was to do with the formation of black holes in the early universe. Now, honestly, I didn't even go and look at this story at all, other than read the abstract there, which is probably not going to be of much interest to most of you. But did I make any notes of it? No, I didn't. Okay, so that doesn't help me very much. But it was to do with our understanding of how black holes formed in the early universe, because that is another bit of a mystery. So generally speaking, the idea of our understanding of how black holes form, the normal standard garden variety black holes we believe tend to come from the leftovers of enormous stars. The bigger stars, after they go supernova, what's left over forms into a black hole. But the supermassive black holes at the center of spiral galaxies, that's a bit more of a mystery about exactly how they form. Like, do they form first and the rest of the galaxy tends to form around them? Is it the other way around? And there is a little bit of a mystery about, well, there seems to be a discrepancy with the time frame. We can't really quite figure out how that would all work. But there has been a little bit of a discovery there. I'm not going to say anything more about it because, as I say, I haven't really read up on it yet. But I tell you what, if anyone does know anything more about that, just post a link in, or a comment in the live chat and share that with the rest of us. So that was that one, and there was another discovery. Again, I didn't get a chance to have a look through this one, but this was a new property of light has been discovered. Well, this is a bizarre thing. This is quite fascinating. Go away. I didn't have time to go and get rid of all my notices. So now look, to be honest, I don't really know a lot about this particular property of light, but it's called self-torque. Self-torque, it doesn't mean it's gone mad and photons are talking to themselves. Or talk about the angular force, and it turns out that light can rotate as it's traveling along, and scientists have discovered that light, well, what does it say here? Researchers have found that light can be twisted, a property called angular momentum. Okay, so a lot of you will be familiar with that, but we hopefully it'll say something a little bit more about it down here. Basically, it's saying that its angular momentum changes. That was the big deal. The technique to, okay, that's not it there. Anyway, look, I'm going to have to leave you guys to go and look into that if you are interested in it. But it was to do with the angular momentum changing by itself. I have no idea how that would work. So if there's any physicists who understand how light can be changing its own angular momentum as it travels along, I'd be fascinated to learn what that's all about. Weird. Okay, so we're going to come back to Earth now and go over a couple of other quick things. This was an interesting paper that has just come out. Let's have a look at the paper there. This is for all you Brits out there. What Brexit means for UK space leadership. So it's a whole paper that has been released discussing all the implications, and it is quite a tricky one for Britain getting out of the European Union, because it is quite messy, of course, the whole thing. But look, the summary is just down here somewhere. To be honest, it's all a little bit vague. It's just saying, look, so what is it going to mean? And I think the guts of it really is that it means uncertainty. Well, that's no surprise. So, I mean, you can kind of see there's a possibility that Britain might be pulling out of the new Galileo global navigation system and possibly looking at setting up their own navigation system. Well, that's a big call, isn't it? So, I don't know. Anyway, if you're interested in what Brexit might mean for Great Britain over there, there's quite a long report there, but I'll let you go and have a look at that if you are interested in that. That was that one. I think that was actually... Oh, no, there was one other thing I wanted to say about the UK, actually, and this is Virgin Galactic. So we haven't talked a lot about Virgin Galactic recently. Actually, to be technical, this was not Virgin Galactic, this is Virgin Orbit. So my understanding of this is Virgin Orbit is actually sort of an offshoot of Virgin Galactic, and it's its own company now. So this is the system that launches from planes. So presumably it's just for sort of smaller satellites, and this is the same kind of market that we were talking about with Rocket Lab, I guess, isn't it? The market for smaller launch vehicles and stuff, so that the plane goes up. And have we got any other photos there? No, we can't see it any more clearly there, but that is presumably what they're trying to launch into space there. So it goes up on a plane, and the thing will drop down and head up into space. So I guess the guts of this story is that they have got funding from the government to set up a facility it's in Cornwall, isn't it? Cornwall Council, the UK Space Agency are getting together and investing a whole lot of money in this new launch facility. So they'll be quite happy about that. So there's plenty of stuff going on in the UK right now. We must be getting near the end of all the news that I wanted to talk about. What was the other thing that let's talk about UFOs for a sec, shall we? We won't talk long about this. We have been talking about it a little bit recently, but this article just tickled me a little bit. Not much to this really. So someone has interviewed President Trump and talked about the whole UFO situation. We've been talking about that a bit recently on the show, about how the United States Air Force has been opening up a lot about the UFO situations and introducing some new procedures to encourage their pilots to actually report UFO sightings. And we're all in agreement, aren't we, that we want them to be doing that so that we can learn more about what on earth these things are. So, so President Trump didn't really have much to say about it, but he was asked if he believes that UFOs are aliens, and he basically said not particularly, or something to that effect. But I also thought it was quite interesting on this page, link in the show notes, is that there's a bunch of just very short outtakes here of other presidents being asked what they think about the UFO situation. So they're all basically asked, when you became president, did you go straight to the Area 51 files and that kind of stuff and learn about the aliens and figure out what's going on? And they all gave evasive answers, actually. Not one of them really gave a straight answer, or they were all kind of joking about it and, we can't talk about that, or I can't tell you, or I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you, and all of that kind of stuff. So if you want to know what the presidents think about that, go and check that out. What do you guys in the live audience, in the studio audience tonight think? Do you think those presidents actually really know what's going on with the UFOs? Or do you think they're in the dark? Well, there's a bit of disagreement over there. You're not really quite sure. Tell us in the live chat what you think. Do the presidents of the United States actually know what's going on in Area 51? Do they know what happened at Roswell? Do they know what all these UFO sightings are? I have no idea, to be honest. You're certainly not going to get much listening to the interviews, because they're really not giving anything away. Anyway, that's enough about UFOs for tonight. One more link that I wanted to share with you tonight. This is completely different. This was a link that was suggested to me by Rob, who watches the show. Thank you very much for this link, Rob. And the link is in the show notes. This is just someone's Flickr account, Kevin Gill. And it's just got a whole lot of absolutely beautiful photos. It's just a curated collection of photos of the planets, and it really is actually a nice collection of photos from around our solar system. So a really well curated, beautiful collection. There's a whole lot of stuff like of Jupiter there. So aren't they just gorgeous? This is a really good collection of photos from around our solar system. So thank you very much for that, Rob. Appreciate that. So that was all the news and links I wanted to talk about. We're going to have a quick chance to have a look at what's in the night sky. Before we do that, Let me just think. So this thing down on the side here with the chat, sorry, it's on the other side over here, that was supposed to help me keep an eye on what's going on with the comments. I don't really know how it's working, to be honest, but let's just have a quick look in the chat here. Have I spoken about the solar eclipse? No, I haven't. Basically because it's not happening here in New Zealand, so sorry about that. To be honest, I'm not even sure when it is. Someone post a quick comment in the live chat telling us when the solar eclipse is happening and where you can see it from. So, right, Kane, what have you got here? The angular momentum of light is based on the idea that light is behaving somewhat like wave particles. Basically, light traveling in a helical or twisted wave front. Okay, thanks for that, Kane. So, it's pretty tricky stuff, isn't it, when you talk about light, that wave-particle duality, how photons of light appear to behave or do behave as both or either a particle or a wave, depending on how you look at it, depending how you measure it. It's pretty heady stuff, but it is fascinating stuff as well. Righto, so Tim's talking about the Goldilocks zone. Don't forget about Tabby Star. Thank you, Casey, for that. So Tabby Star, now I really should have done some prep for this, but it came out in the news a while ago. I can't even think when they discovered this, but it's a star in our galaxy that, was it Kepler that discovered Tabby Star, or the strange thing that was going along? Someone feel free to contribute to this as we go. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll just put the chats up there. If anyone wants to chime in with stuff about Tabby Star. So it was a star that varies in brightness, which is not uncommon for stars. Lots of stars vary in their brightness, but Tabby Star was doing it in a somewhat random, very unpredictable way that we have never seen before. So there was all sorts of hypotheses about what could happen. And of course, whenever you get anything really unusual like this, a lot of people start coming out and saying it must be aliens. And it could have been. It was not a bad candidate for perhaps some sort of alien technology or some evidence of some alien structures around another star. Other hypotheses would have included clouds of comets or other debris, things like that. Now, has it been in the news recently? I'm not sure exactly, but anyway, I don't think we are really any closer to knowing what is going on with Tabby Star. I don't think I'm really in the camp of thinking that it's aliens. If you know me, you would know that I would love nothing more than to find out that it is indeed an alien structure, but my money would certainly be on some sort of natural structure that we just haven't come across yet. I don't know. It's been this. It's happening. Was it happening tonight? Was it? It's happening in South America. It's been. Oh, well, that was remiss of me then. I probably should have talked about it, because there are various places you can go online and watch it happening live. To be honest, I've never really bothered, because, I mean, you can just... Watching a video of an eclipse is not really the same thing. Now, I'll tell you what, we actually have someone in our audience tonight, and I'm going to cut out there. Reese and Kai, put your hands up. We went to Australia in 2012, and we went and stayed with Reese and Kai. They're over here in New Zealand staying with us at the moment. That's why they're in the audience. But we went and saw a total solar eclipse in Port Douglas, just north of Cairns, where these guys live. And I think they will agree with me that there is nothing like it, eh? It was pretty spectacular, wasn't it, guys? If you ever get a chance to... Has anyone else in the audience seen a total solar eclipse? Jess, of course, at the back there, she came with us. You've seen a total solar eclipse? It's something else, eh? It's just absolutely out there. The videos and the pictures just do not do it justice. Now, just to be clear, you can see a partial solar eclipse much more often, and that's where you've got the sun up here and the moon goes partially in front of the sun. And that's a cool thing to see. You definitely want to make an effort if you get a chance, but to see a total solar eclipse where the sun goes right in front, the moon goes right in front of the sun, that's a whole different thing altogether. In fact, I'm just wondering if I, just bear with me a sec here, I'm just going to do a little bit of self-promotion here, because I'm thinking on our YouTube channel, where many of you are already, that's no good, I'm not signed in. Tell you what, go to our YouTube channel, you'll find it. We actually have the video that I made of when we went over to Australia and watched the solar eclipse. And honestly, I get all excited about it and get all gushy when I think about it, because I reckon it is pretty much the most spectacular thing you will see in your life. There's no natural phenomenon quite like seeing a total solar eclipse. So anyway, we're getting kind of near the end of the show, so we need to be thinking about our competition for one thing. Jess, have you got the competition under control? I tell you what, was there anyone else who wanted to have one last entry for the competition? What I should do is just a quick reminder. I have not been doing that, sorry about that. But the competition tonight is, should Rocket Lab have to publicly disclose every payload? Now, just while we give you one last chance to put your competition entries in to win, what were we winning tonight? That we were winning the do-it-yourself UFO tonight. These are really cool. So, yeah, if you don't want it yourself, buy it as a gift for someone else. Or even if you don't want it, I should mention that with our competition, if you win a prize or you see a prize that you don't really want, an option is just to let us donate it to a worthy cause. So we're quite happy to do that. What was I going to say? I know what I was going to say. We were talking about the competition. On the stuff article that I showed you before with the link there, they ran a poll on that article, and the question that they ran was, does the public have a right to know what's on Rocket Lab? So I didn't want to show you this before just so that I wouldn't influence the outcome at all, and I've kind of given it away a little bit there. You can see where I voted. I voted not necessarily so long as the government has approved it. So look, I'll give you my opinion on this. I actually think that, you know my opinion about military stuff in space. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of it, but I'm also a pragmatist, and I can see that it's something that we live with. For one thing, the military have got money. They're going to spend that money one way or another. If they can't spend it on things like Rocket Lab launching their stuff, then they're going to spend it on their own rockets or something. So I would just as soon have Rocket Lab having that money. I guess more importantly, I can't imagine for 1 minute that either Rocket Lab or the New Zealand government is going to risk putting something up into space from New Zealand that the average New Zealander is not going to be happy with. So especially a Labour government. But to be honest, I don't think any New Zealand government would be dumb enough to agree to putting something up in space that New Zealanders would be dead against. As I said earlier, Peter Beck has categorically stated that he won't be launching any weapons. So my personal feeling is that I am quite happy to trust Rocket Lab. Everything that I've seen and heard of Rocket Lab so far, all the people I've met that work there, everything indicates to me that they are a nice bunch of people, and I don't see any reason to distrust them. I'm thinking of a quote. Someone correct me if I've got this wrong. I think Ernest Hemingway said something along the lines of, the best way to find out if you can trust someone is to trust them. I like that as a quote. I think that Peter Beck and Rocket Lab are a trustworthy organisation, and I am happy to give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, let's face it. So Rocket Lab has got a good, solid customer base. They really are nailing this part of the market. They've got customers booked up forever. And I just don't think that they would risk their whole operation. You can imagine what would happen if it got out through some official information request or something that Rocket Lab was sending something that New Zealanders were dead against into space. Rocket Lab can't afford to have New Zealanders turn on them. I know that it's an American company now, and that they're setting up their launch facility in the States, but I just do not see them wanting to launch anything dodgy. So that's my opinion. I know that some of you have got other opinions, but that's where I see it. So how are we looking for the competition? So are you ready to go, or do you want a little bit more time, Jess? A little bit more time. Okay, thanks, Jess. So she's busy over there collating all the entries. Let's just have a quick look in the chat again. Right, so we've had a couple of late entries for that. So, Lance, you were in Northwestern for the 2012 eclipse. Right, so it was very cool, but all the birds around stopped chirping as the eclipse started and made it a bit spooky. Yeah, we had the same thing actually, and because it was an early morning eclipse, the poor old birds, they'd only been up for half an hour or so, and then they thought it was all nighttime again. So they were kind of still getting ready for their day, and then they all went back to bed. And then, of course, a few minutes later, it's daytime again. So I don't know how they reacted to that. Well, I know how they reacted. They got back on board again, but it must have been very confusing for all the poor animals. But it was very, very cool. So thanks for that, Lance. Now, actually, Lance, did I actually send you a personal email thanking you for getting on board with Patreon? I think I might not have done. Sorry about that. I know we've already acknowledged you, but thanks very much for your financial support. We really appreciate that. So yeah, we're getting a few entries coming through now. So very good. Rock's cool. It was perfect conditions. Awesome. All right. So Tams is talking about the eclipse as well. Oh, beautiful. Eclipses are just awesome. Right, so I think that's all we need to catch up on the chat there. Lisa, your message was retracted. I wish I knew what was going on there. I'm sorry that I don't. We just haven't been able to get to the bottom of that yet. So, yeah, we're still going on the competition over there. I'm just wondering, was there any other questions that we wanted to tackle tonight? It's probably a little bit late now. I'll tell you what, I have got one question here that came through. What is a good telescope you would recommend? That was from Jacob Fox. If you're with us tonight, Jacob, in a nutshell, 8-inch Dobsonian. You can't really go too wrong with an 8-inch Dobsonian. Of course, we sell them. They're over in the back there. I should be doing a little bit of a plug for us. It's one of those big white telescopes. It's actually not that big one. It's the one in the middle. Yeah, it's sort of over there. You can't really see it from here. They're kind of chunky looking telescopes. It's not what most people think of as a home telescope, but honestly, you really can't go wrong with a good 8-inch Dobsonian. Fantastic value for money. It looks like Jess is ready with the competition. So what we need to do here is we need to pull someone's name out of the astronaut helmet. Who would like to do the draw for us tonight? Any volunteers for someone to pull a name out of the helmet? Yeah, Kai, you can do it. Okay, yeah, good on you. So Jess will bring around the space helmet and we'll see who we've got. Now, if you win the competition, what you need to do is send us a private message somehow and just let us know where to post it to. So what we have got is we've got Hayley Davies. Okay, Hayley, hopefully you guys are watching tonight. Hayley, you have won. Isn't this the second time your family's won a prize? I think it might be actually. We have an ongoing scandal situation here at the Space Centre, but honestly it really is all above board. So if you could, actually I know where you guys live, so I'll just come and I'll get in touch with you sometime soon. So let's just have one last quick look at the chats. So, Ross, sorry, the competition question was, should Rocket Lab have to publicly declare everything that is going up in their rockets? But sorry about that, you're too late. You've missed out on the competition. Come back next time. Right, so we had a bit of a mixture, didn't we? I think we've probably... right, Troy, you're not into that. You want them to... well, some people also want to put advertising in space. Well, you know what I think about that, don't you? Yeah, I think I have made my feelings well and truly clear about advertising in space, the nasty old Pepsi sign and all the other nonsense. But we're fighting it, aren't we? Yeah, we're going to fight it till the death. So... where we were at, we were just having a quick last look at the chats. So, Carol, you guys are watching tonight, awesome. Right, we can't talk about auroras tonight, Dominic, but honestly, I will put that on my list for stuff to talk about coming up. Okay, so yeah, it was interesting that we've got a mix of people's opinions about Rocket Lab. I might actually collate those and get back to you next week about exactly what the split was there, but I'm kind of thinking it was leaning a little bit more towards saying that Rocket Lab should be able to put stuff up there as long as it's been approved by the government. So, yep, that's where we stand with that. Now, was there anything else we needed to cover tonight? I don't think there was. Did anyone out in the audience have anything that they wanted to talk about or bring up tonight? No, we're all happy? Okay, look, thank you so much for coming along. We've got a pretty good audience, as I said there tonight. And, like, it hasn't been as cold as it has been lately, but... it's still not pleasant out there, so we really appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Jess over in the background there has been doing a great job looking after me and making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Thank you very much, Jess, for that. And I think with that, I've got this nasty nagging feeling. I know what it was. There was something, we didn't have a show last week. Apologies for that. Something did come up sort of fairly near the last minute, but I just wanted to point out that if you're thinking about making a trip out to come and join us with a live audience here, excuse me, tonight, or on any of our shows, it really does pay to just check in to make sure that we are still going ahead. I've got this recurring nightmare that something's going to happen. I'm going to get in an accident or something and people will have traveled a long way to come here. So it does make sense to have a look. I think the best thing is just to have a look on our YouTube channel and just make sure that the show is still on. We'll also post it on Facebook and other platforms, so you can check that out. So let's just have, I see there's a little bit going on in there in the chat. Thanks everyone. Thanks for all your thanks. We appreciate that. Thank you again to our live audience in the studio there for coming along tonight. Good night everyone. And actually let's just leave it on that one there, and we will say a very good night to you all, and we will see you again back here, hopefully all going well, next week. See you later.